people don't understand. There's the regular Army, right? And if you're really gung-ho and da-da-da, you can be a ranger, which means you got to learn to parachute and that kind of stuff. And then above that, after you could go through those two things, you can apply to be in the Special Forces. So you already got to be ranger certified.
So this is the elite of the elite.
This is the elite of the elite. These guys are typically older. They're late 20s, early 30s. They're fluent in at least one foreign language. Okay. They learn to be combat medics. There's weapons specialists. They're engineers. They're architects. They're, healthcare providers. Their mission is twofold. One, go behind enemy lines and do the hearts and minds thing. So they're not like the SEALs who run in, grab something, blow something up, kill somebody, and run back out.
Yeah.
They live amongst whatever indigenous population is. And then if stuff, as they say there, if the balloon goes up, they're deep reconnaissance.
So there's a definite a finesse to it.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
so the 10th group, they've been disbanded now, but their area of operation was Eastern Europe. Right now, you got to get this. This was not a pretend mission. They actually did it.
Yeah.
In those days, every year, the Warsaw Pact, Russia and the Warsaw Pact would do their Warsaw Pact maneuvers, war games, and they'd come right up to the border with West Germany and stop. And the common wisdom was World War III will start when 1 year they're doing Warsaw Pact maneuvers and they feign their attack and don't stop, right? And they'll be in Paris before we could do anything about it. Now, these guys' job was they would literally go behind the lines while Warsaw Pact maneuvers were going on. This wasn't just a theory, they did it, right? And deep reconnaissance. So they'd sit in a hole for 3, 4, 5, 10 days and observe. And what they were watching for was, were they moving any tactical nuclear weapons? And if so, they'd shoot back these little radio bursts to let our guys know.
Sure.
Now, the dilemma was technology sophisticated enough, and the Russians knew they were there in general, they just didn't know where. As soon as they sent a radio burst, they'd start to triangulate them, and you might get 2 or 3 off before they figured out where you were.
Man, talking about being cool under pressure.
Well, then it was a big escape invasion thing. So these guys would go in, they wouldn't carry, buckets of ammunition. A, it's heavy, and B, you don't want to be shooting. Then they really know where you are. So it's only as the last resort you're ever going to use that weapon. So they might have only carried, a couple hundred rounds.
Sure.
But they got to carry food anyway. The point of this was there's this notion in those days, Rambo, was just out. So, so these guys are all hitting the iron and bulking up and all this stuff. And we're kind of like, yeah, that's the wrong body for what you're trying to do. Right? You need
it's not stealth.
You need an endurance body, not a power pump body. If you're going to run from the Russians, right, you need to literally be able to run.
Yeah.
Right, and hopefully it doesn't get to that. But yeah, it's a mindset. So we said, okay, so the main part of your mission in deep recon is you have to sit in a hole for days on end. How often do you practice doing that? Oh, we don't, man. It's boring as shit. Well, hey, guess what? That's where you're going to get in trouble, right? Because that sitting in that hole for 3 days is going to make you nutty. You're going to start turning on each other, because that's what happens. So what we did is we said, okay, look, we did our same thing, mind, body, team stuff. We taught them, with the Army, you have to do careful packaging. So we couldn't teach them meditation because that got all the religious nuts all worked up. But we taught them focusing techniques. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so they learned how to meditate. They learned how to stay calm. We taught them new ways of training. We taught them, a whole new nutritional routine. And the first test, and because this is going on here, I'll cut it off here. But the first test was real simple. We've been with them for maybe a couple months, and the Army figured out it's time to see how these guys are doing. So one of their kind of quote standard tests for special forces was one last background piece. These guys are kind of like a fire department.
Yeah.
So each team had its own house. It had an upstairs and a downstairs. Downstairs had a classroom, storage for all their gear. Upstairs they lived.
Yeah.
And when they were on, some of them may have lived off post or been married, but there's a 2-week period where you're on. So they're in the house.
My dad was a firefighter.
Yeah, there you go. So
1 day on, 48 hours.
There you go. You're living in the house,
Yeah.
right? Because if the balloon goes up,
gotta roll.
so the balloon, as far as they're concerned, the balloon goes up. Somebody comes in, racks them out. It's like 3 o'clock in the freaking morning or something. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Everybody out, get on the truck, get your pack, get your weapon, be on the truck, ready to rock, 10 minutes. Boom, 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 boom. Everybody's on the truck. they'd get out to the airfield, get a chute, get on the plane. Plane takes off. Hour or so later, back end opens up. There's a guy 5,000 feet down there waving a flashlight. Your job, land on him. Go, 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 go. So out they go in the middle of the night. They land, they get circled up. Here's a map, right? You're here, and the map's like maybe as big as my hand. You're here, yours there. If you get from here to there in time, you get food and another map. If you don't get there in time, you just get another map.
Oh, jeez.
All right. So the test was to see how many legs they could go.
I see.
The record was 3. Right? So what happened is this was rough territory. This was in the Pennsylvania mountains. So it wasn't like they're just, walking across. Yeah. And what happened was they get tired, hungry. They wouldn't get there in time. They wouldn't get food. So now they're getting blood sugars running. They get snarky with each other. Command structure would break down, and the team would fall apart. Okay. Our guys got through 5 legs, and they had to call off the test because they didn't have any more maps. Nobody had ever gotten that far, so it didn't occur to them, right?
Yeah.
So that was the level at which we were playing, and so we did maritime operations with them. So their special way of swimming and doing insertions. We did skiing with them.
Now, as you're working with these people, are you actually doing these with them? I mean, you're physically
well,
yourself?
the only thing that they wouldn't let us do with them was parachute.
Yeah.
Liability.
Yeah.
Which was kind of a bummer. But no,
It'd be bad to be halfway through the process and you're dead.
we taught them how to ski. Skiing is great. It's a whole different deal when you got 90 pounds on your back.
Man, yeah.
Yeah, right. And I was a swimmer in those days, so it's not like they didn't know how to swim, but helped with that. And every day it was in the dojo learning Aikido, not because it's particularly useful combat sport, because we taught them other stuff for that, but as a mindset. Right? How do you make a blend? How do we find the way through? How do we use the opponent's energy against them?
Yeah.
Right? And not just in a one-on-one situation, but think of that metaphor. And we set records with all these guys.